My family's always loved Halloween. Every year, we'd carve pumpkins together, Mom, Dad, my little sister Lily, and me, but last year was different because my mom said it made the pumpkins grow bigger. We didn't know what else. The pumpkins looked strange that October, darker, veiny. When I carved mine, the smell wasn't normal, not earthy or sweet. It smelled like iron, like blood. I joked about it, but Mom got quiet. She said, "Just finish carving, honey. The neighbors are watching." I didn't understand what she meant until later, that night, after we set them on the porch. I woke up to whispering. At first, I thought it was Lily talking in her sleep, but the voice wasn't coming from her room. It was coming from outside. I looked through the window and saw our pumpkins glowing. But mine had eyes, real ones, wet, blinking human eyes. I froze. The pumpkin turned slightly, like it was looking right at me. Then it whispered, in my own voice, "Don't tell anyone. They'll take you too." I fell back, knocking over my lamp. By the time I looked again, the pumpkin was normal. Just a carved face. The next morning, Mom's pumpkin had caved in. It looked like something had burst from the inside. When Dad threw it out, he found something under it, a fingernail, human-sized. Over the next few days, things got worse. We'd hear scratching on the windows at night. The smell of rot filled the house. And Lily started talking to someone who wasn't there. "Pumpkin eyes," she'd say. "He says he wants to come in." I told Mom we needed to leave, but she just stared at the window, whispering, "It's too late. The soil's already fed. On Halloween night, we were supposed to go trick-or-treating." But when I came downstairs, Mom and Dad were gone. The pumpkins on the porch had multiplied, dozens of them. Each one carved with a face that looked familiar. One had my dad's mustache. Another had my mom's green eyes. And in the middle, a new pumpkin, smaller, with Lily's pink hairband tied around its stem. I ran outside, screaming for help, but the neighbors' houses were dark. No decorations, no lights, no sound. Then I realized all the other houses had pumpkins too. And they were all glowing, all watching me. I grabbed Lily's pumpkin and smashed. The moment I did, I heard her scream from inside the house. Not from her room. From underneath the floor. I dug through the dirt in the basement until my fingers bled. And I found her. Her body was cold, roots wrapped around her face, pulling her eyes open. The vines were growing straight up toward the porch. That was 1 year ago. I moved to a new town, hundreds of miles away. No pumpkins, no Halloween decorations, but tonight, someone left one on my porch. No note, no candle, just a face. And its eyes are starting to move. I grew up in a quiet town called Willow Creek. The kind of place that looked perfect from the outside: white fences, Halloween parades, and smiling neighbors. But underneath all that, there was a story no one wanted to talk about. They called it the Candyman's curse. Every Halloween, a man in a brown coat used to give away homemade candy caramel bites, chocolate truffles, and something he called midnight fudge. Kids loved him. But 1 year, 5 of them didn't come home. They said the Candyman disappeared after that burned in his own factory. The adults buried the story like it never happened. But legends don't die that easily. I never believed in ghost stories until the night my best friend, Eli, dared me to knock on the old candy factory's door. The place had been abandoned for 30 years, the windows sealed, the gates chained, but that night, the air smelled sweet. Like caramel and smoke. We were 16, stupid and bored. Eli grinned and said, "Bet you won't go inside," so I did. The door opened with a groan. Inside, everything was covered in dust, candy molds, glass jars, rotting boxes of sugar. But there was something else, a tray, sitting right in the middle of the table, fresh candy. Still warm. I picked one up. It smelled amazing, like honey and vanilla. Eli laughed behind me. "Dude, don't actually eat that." But I'd already taken a bite. That's when the lights flickered on. Rows of candy machines started running on their own. The air filled with the sound of grinding metal and boiling syrup. And through the glass wall, I saw him, the candy man. His face was covered in burn scars. His smile cracked open like melted wax. He was stirring a vat of red liquid thicker than chocolate. Eli screamed. I turned to run, but the door had sealed shut. The candy man whispered, "Every recipe needs a little soul." And then he threw something at us. A bag full of teeth. We ran through the side corridor, slipping on syrup and ash. The walls were lined with kids' names, carved into the metal. Eli's name was already there. He didn't make it out that night. The police said he was missing. But I saw the candy man pulling him into the boiling vat, screaming his name until the factory lights went black. That was 10 years ago, and tonight, I smelled caramel again. I followed it outside, and on my porch sat a box of midnight fudge. The same wrapping, the same smell. Inside was a note for old time's sake. Sweet dreams, kid, faint whisper. Don't forget to share. Last Halloween, I was broke, lonely, and desperate for attention. I used to act in small horror plays, but nobody remembered me. So when I got invited to the biggest Halloween party in town, the kind that influencers streamed live, I decided this year I'd be unforgettable. I just didn't know how literal that would become. I went to this creepy thrift shop downtown called Second Skin. The owner was this pale, quiet woman with eyes that didn't blink. I asked if they had any realistic costumes, something different. She smiled, showing yellow teeth. "I've got just the thing," she said, pulling a black leather costume from the back. It looked too real. The skin texture, the stitching like it was handmade. "Try it on," she whispered. "It'll fit you perfectly." When I pulled the costume on, it felt warm like it had been alive a moment ago. It clung to my skin tightly. Too tightly. I looked in the mirror and froze. The costume wasn't just on me, it was merging. The stitches were moving, threading into my arms, sinking under my flesh. I screamed and tried to take it off, but the zipper was gone. The shop lights flickered. The woman just stood there, smiling. "Every costume needs a soul," she whispered. "Yours will do." I blacked out. When I woke up, I was still wearing it, but I was on stage, at the party. People were cheering. "Best costume ever," they shouted. I tried to speak, to tell them it wasn't a costume. But my voice didn't sound like mine anymore. It was deep, wet, animalistic. My reflection in the glass door, it wasn't me. The eyes were black. The smile too wide. Something inside the costume moved. I could feel it like muscles tightening that weren't mine. My hands reached for someone, a girl I knew from college. I didn't want to, but the costume did. She laughed until I grabbed her too hard. I remember her scream. The sound of something tearing. The crowd thought it was fake, part of the act. Until they saw the blood. I ran into the street, covered in it. The costume was whispering, "We look good in red." I clawed at my skin, tried to rip it off. But every time I pulled, I tore my own flesh. I ran back to the thrift store. It was gone. The entire block empty. Just an alley full of old mannequins, all dressed in different skins. I passed out again. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. The doctor said I was found wandering downtown, naked, covered in blood. They didn't find a costume. They said I'd hallucinated everything. But I know what I saw, what I felt. Because sometimes, at night, my skin moves. Like it's remembering how it used to fit someone else. Last week, I got a package on my doorstep. No return address. Inside, a folded piece of leather. Black. Stitched. And a note. "It missed you.